Welcome back to the final term. I hope that you're well and rested after the holidays and that you're really feeling ready to start this term so strong so that you can finish the year strong. In chapel this term, we're going to be continuing with the story of Joseph found in Genesis. Just a quick recap. We're at the point where Joseph's initial dreams are now a reality. Like in his dreams, his brothers have bowed down to him as they've come to Egypt in search of food because of this great famine. It's Joseph who gathered up all the extra grain in Egypt because he knew that there would be 7 good years of abundance and then 7 years of drought and hunger. And so it's Joseph that they need to ask for food from. It's just that the brothers still haven't recognized him. But why would they? It's 20 years later. Joseph's not speaking Hebrew, and they probably expect that if he's still even alive, he'd probably be some badly treated slave just as they sold him to be. But Joseph's made a plan to get his only full-blood brother Benjamin to Egypt, so he can see if the other brothers are also mistreating him the way that they did him. On their way back to Egypt, Joseph gives the brothers the ultimate test. Joseph gets Benjamin framed for stealing his silver goblet. But when that happens, the brother who sold Joseph in the first place is the first to defend Benjamin. He says he promised his father on his life that he would not return without Benjamin. And so he asks to trade places, his life for Benjamin's. That's where we come into the story today, with Genesis chapter 45. Joseph sees that his brothers are older, more mature, changed, and he can no longer keep himself together. It says, "Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, 'Have everyone leave my presence!' So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. And Joseph said to his brothers, 'I am Joseph. Is my father still living?' But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God." This is it, the grand reveal. Joseph, alive. Can you imagine the absolute shock and disbelief? And then the terror. Imagine being the brothers when standing before you is a very powerful man who has every reason to want revenge against you. That's a lot to process. Regret. It's a horrible thing. I found a couple quotes about regret that we can probably relate to when we think about the things in our lives which we regret. "Sometimes I wish life was written in pencil so we could erase it and write it all over again." I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has things in their life that they wish that they could just scratch out. And then there's this quote. "Regret is an appalling waste of energy. You can't build on it. It's only good for wallowing in." Regret is a very real feeling. It's almost as if it sits at the bottom of your stomach and makes you feel sick to the core. While it's very real, it's not a helpful feeling. It's not one that gets you anywhere or even accomplishes anything. So a final quote. "Thinking before acting is wisdom, but acting before thinking is regret." I'm going to say this one again because it's the one that I want us to focus on today. Thinking before acting is wisdom, but acting before thinking is regret. We all know the kind of life we need to live in order to negate a fair portion of the regret that we feel. I do realize that not everything is in our control, and that's different. But there are things which are in our control, which we do or don't do anyway, knowing at the back of our minds that it's not going to work out for us in the long run. There are countless scriptures that we've read over the years here in chapel, and no doubt many of you have also heard in church or when you read on your own, which teach us how to live a life worthy of Christ. But we don't just need to hear them, we need to act on them. That's wisdom, which keeps us from regret. As I said, there are countless scriptures, but the one I'm going to focus on today comes from 1 Thessalonians 5:13-18 from the Message translation. It says, "Get along amongst yourselves, each of you doing your part. Our counsel is that you warn the freeloaders to get a move on, gently encourage the stragglers, and reach out for the exhausted, pulling them to their feet. Be patient with every person, attentive to individual needs, and be careful that when you get on each other's nerves, you don't snap at each other. Look for the best in each other, and always do your best to bring it out. Be cheerful, no matter what. Pray all the time. Thank God no matter what happens. This is the way God wants you who belong to Jesus Christ, to live." I'm going to leave that up for a minute. Did any of those stand out to you? Is there anything there that maybe you need to work a little harder on so as not to regret it? This is nothing new. You know it. And how different this story might have turned out if the brothers didn't just act on impulse right at the beginning, but if they thought and then acted. Where in your story might you benefit from a little more thought? Amen.